What expressions can you use to order food and drink in a restaurant? How can you ask for the bill at the end of the meal? How do you like your eggs cooked? And what does it mean if your eggs are sunny side up? You'll find out in this appetizing episode of
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hi, I'm Reza.
And my name's Craig.
And with nearly 50 years of teaching between us, we'll help you improve your English and take it to the next level. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Reza. I'm excited to be podcasting on this beautiful sunny day, and we hope it's sunny wherever you are, and maybe even sunny side up. But we'll talk about sunny side up later.
And are you peckish? Are you hungry at all?
I'm not at the moment because I've just had a lovely piece of coconut chocolate cake when we had our coffee break. But I've got a feeling I'm going to be hungry at the end of this episode when we start speaking about food and ordering in restaurants.
Well, let's get cracking, shall we? Let's start with a little appetizer. That's like some little thing you have before the main meal.
Finger food.
Finger food, exactly. So here's an email from Carlos Ruiz from Mexico.
Carlos writes, the first time that I came to the USA, I had some issues ordering food in a restaurant because sometimes the waiter speaks so fast or they ask you what side you want. So the first time that the waiter asked me about which sides I would like to choose, I didn't understand what he was talking about. Reza, what do you think the waiter meant when he said side? Was it which side of the restaurant to sit on, or which side of the table to put the food, or which side of the plate? What did the waiter mean when he said, what sides would you like?
Well, earlier in the introduction, I mentioned sunny side up. That's something different. That's another side. Sunny side up is about eggs. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this was a side, which you might think un lado, side, al lado. Not exactly, but close. A side order. An order in a restaurant is the food that you've asked for, because to order food is to ask for food. So the order is what you've asked for. A side order is what you've asked for to accompany, to go beside the principal food. So the side order is not the main dish. It's not the most interesting, let's say. It's not the focus of what you're going to eat, but it will accompany what you're going to eat. So a typical side order could be chips, or fries, as they say in America, chips in the UK, fries in the United States. Could be vegetables, could be coleslaw, could be a little salad, that type of thing. Acompañamiento, the thing you have beside the main dish.
Now, maybe you don't want your vegetables, and be careful of the pronunciation of that word. It has 3 syllables, not 4. So vegetables. Stress the first syllable, vegetables. Maybe you're a bit fussy, a bit particular. You don't want the mushrooms or the chips on the same plate. So you could ask for something on the side. On the side. For example, you may say to the waiter, can I have the mushrooms on the side, please? Or could I have the sauce on the side? So you don't want it on your main plate.
Or if it's something that you're asking for separately, you could say, for example, can I have a side order of mushrooms, please? So imagine I've ordered a fried steak and it doesn't come with mushrooms. Mushrooms are not included with the steak, but I fancy some mushrooms. I want some. So I get them in addition. So that's when I say, can I have a side order of mushrooms. So I'm ordering another dish to go at the side of the main dish. In this case, mushrooms, or it could be chips, or it could be salad.
So I think one of the issues that Carlos had with the waiter in the USA was that the waiter said, "What sides would you like?" The waiter didn't say, "What side orders would you like?" Because very often side order is shortened to side. So you just hear the word side. What sides would you like? Would you like French fries? Would you like mushrooms, etc.? So Carlos continues with another issue he had. He uses the expression, "I will take," and he asks if this expression to order food is correct or not. And I don't think it is. "I will take" or "I will like," I would not use. Instead of that, say, for example, "I'd like." So you contract would, "I would like," and you say, "I'd like." I'd like a side order of mushrooms, for example, or "I'd like another beer, please," or "I'd like the soup." Reza, can you think of more expressions that you could use to order food in English?
Well, instead of saying "I'd like," "I would like," you could say, "Can I have," or "Could I have?" So, "Can I have the steak, please?" Or "Could I have the vegetarian lasagna?" Or "I'll have the fish, please." So can or could I have, or I'll have. If you want to be a bit more specific, if you're going to eat more than one thing, if you're going to have more than one course, so first, second, third course, you might clarify by saying, "To start." So if I'm the waiter and I hear the words "to start," I know that the customer is going to order the starters, the first course, the thing that you start with. So to start, I'll have the soup. Then I'll have the steak. So that person's having two courses. Craig, what about once you've had your starter? How might you order the main course?
Just say, "For the main course." For the main course, I'll have the fish. For the main course, I'll have the lasagna, for example. And very similar for your dessert, the final course. For dessert, I'll have the cheesecake. For dessert, I'll have a piece of chocolate cake, etc. Now, in Carlos's email, he continues and says that he did some research on the internet and he saw that he can order food with the expression, "Can I get?" For example, "Can I get this fish? Can I get a bottle of wine? Can I get the chocolate cake?" Well, yes, you can, Carlos. That's perfectly acceptable, although it's more common in American English than British English. Do you agree, Reza?
Yes. I wouldn't normally say it myself, but it doesn't sound unusual to me because I'm used to hearing it from American films and TV shows.
And what makes me laugh sometimes is the idea of using "can," which is often used for ability or permission. If someone says, can I get the fish?" Yes, you can. Would you like to order it? In other words, yes, it's possible that you can get it. Would you like it? Do you want it or not? Do I have the ability to get it? That's what it sounds like to me. Can I have the steak? Yeah, you can. Do you want it? But it is acceptable to ask for something using "can." Can I have? Can I get?
Carlos continues with his email. He talks about a second occasion when he was ordering food. Let me read you what he wrote. He said, "A second occasion was when I was traveling from Detroit to Dallas airport and we went to a Mexican restaurant. By the way, the waiter was American." In a Mexican restaurant. And Carlos is Mexican. This is curious, right? So, by the way, the waiter was American. So, I ordered eggs, and the waiter asked me, "How would you like your eggs?" And I didn't know what to say.
On the plate.
Yeah, not on the floor, right?
Not in the shell. Shell is the hard outside. Can you take it out the shell, please? That's how I'd like it.
So Carlos says, "I didn't know what to say. So I asked a co-worker of mine, a colleague, how can I say huevos estrellados?"
I didn't know what estrellados meant. It's a Mexican expression. Estrellados.
No, I didn't. This is new for me. And apparently it means cracked or shattered. So what would that be, similar to maybe scrambled egg, do you think?
No, I think it's fried egg because you break the egg and put it in the frying pan. So it's a fried egg.
You crack it open
exactly.
and fried egg. Okay.
Fried egg.
It's a fried egg. Huevo frito.
Exactly.
In Spain, people would say huevo frito, just like in English, fried egg. So in Mexico, that's huevo estrellado. Okay. And he told me, so Carlos says he, the co-worker, told me sunny side eggs. And that was a little embarrassing, I have to say. Sunny side eggs. Now, what does he mean by that? Oh, well, there are various ways you can have eggs. And one is sunny side.
But is it sunny side or sunny side up?
Ooh.
I think it's sunny side up.
I think it's the same thing, but sometimes people just don't bother to say up, right? Sunny side up or just sunny side is the same thing, right?
Yep. And sunny side up means that it's fried, the egg is fried on only one side. So if you think of the egg in the frying pan, you can see the yellow of the egg, which is the yolk in English, Y-O-L-K. So there's the yolk of the egg and the white of the egg. And it looks like the sun because it's sunny side up. So you can see the sun. That's a good way to remember that expression. A fried egg is sunny side up.
Craig, what if you want to fry it on both sides? What if you like it cooked a bit more? How would you say that?
Well, I don't know in British English, strangely, because it's not a common way to cook eggs in the UK, but I know it's very popular in America, in North America, in diners, to have eggs fried on both sides, and that's called over easy. Over easy. If you like your eggs fried on both sides and the waiter says to you, "How would you like your eggs, sir or madam?" just say over easy.
But of course, there are more ways that you can have eggs cooked. So if a waiter says to you, "How would you like your eggs?" They could be sunny side up. They could be over easy if they're fried. But maybe you don't want them fried. Maybe you want them soft boiled. Or maybe you want them hard boiled.
What's the difference?
Well, as you could probably guess, if something's soft boiled, it's boiled. That means it's cooked in hot water, boiling water, but not so that it becomes hard. So it's a question of time. So soft boiled, up to about 3 or 4 minutes maximum, would you say?
Yeah, more or less.
More or less. And hard boiled, well, anything after that might be 5 minutes, might be 10 minutes, depends how hard you want them.
I've got a question for you, Reza. When you were a young boy and your mum cooked you a soft-boiled egg...
As she often did, by the way.
I'm guessing she did. Did you have soldiers with it?
Oh, always little soldiers, yes. Did you too?
I did. I wondered if soldiers existed in Belfast.
Oh, yeah. Well, there were other types of soldiers in Belfast too, who were not so tasty, but yeah.
But got egg on their face.
Yeah.
But seriously, to have soldiers is when you butter a piece of bread, and now I'm speaking about the bread that's not like the baguette. I mean the loaf of bread, the normal bread that you find in the UK that's sliced bread. In Spain here we say pan de molde. So you butter a slice of normal like square bread, and then you cut the bread into thin pieces that we call soldiers, and then you dip or you put the soldier inside the soft-boiled egg, and that lovely yellow yolk melts the butter and gets sucked inside the bread. And I haven't had it for years, but now I'm starting to get hungry. Now I could eat a soft-boiled egg with soldiers.
Yes, and for some reason, it's one of those things that nearly all kids seem to love.
Yeah.
Kids just love soft-boiled eggs with soldiers, and Craig and I are no exceptions.
I'm going to have that for breakfast tomorrow with a little bit of salt and some soft-boiled eggs.
A little bit of salt as well. You know what I actually did? I put butter. What I used to do was cut the top off the soft-boiled egg, then get some butter on my knife, and with that knife, cut into the yolk and let that butter fall into the egg. So I actually put butter into the soft-boiled egg as well as put butter onto my bread. You say bread, I toasted mine. Was yours toasted?
No, I was no toast for me.
So I toasted the soldiers, same as you, little soldier, thin shapes, but I toasted them, put butter on that as well, and dipped the buttered toasty soldier into the soft-boiled egg, which had butter floating about in it. Yeah, I ate a lot of butter as a kid, and I still do today.
Well, you can't beat Irish butter. You can't beat means you can't get anything better than. Irish butter is fantastic. One of my favourite ways of cooking eggs is scrambled, which means you break the egg or eggs into a frying pan and you...
Whoa.
No? No frying pan?
Not frying pan, mama. No. Are you presuming or you've done this?
It's one of the few things I can cook.
Not a frying pan. In a saucepan. Definitely not a frying pan. Do you fry them?
No, it's on a low heat.
And do you put oil in there?
And a little bit of oil, yeah.
Ooh, well, it must be a weird thing in your family. I don't know. For me, traditional British or Irish scrambled eggs are done in a saucepan, not a frying pan. That sounds like a European thing to me.
Well, maybe it's a London thing. But anyway, the basic idea is that you stir or beat. You can use either of those words. You stir around like you stir your coffee. If you put sugar in coffee or tea, you stir it. So you stir the eggs around, you mix them or you beat them together a bit violently while the eggs are being gently heated. So if you're from Belfast, you'll do that in a saucepan. If you're from London, you might do it in a frying pan. But either way, the method is the same.
Yeah, you're scrambling them for sure. If you're Spanish, you'll definitely do it in a frying pan. But for me, the result is not the same because in Spain, they have a thing here that they call revuelto.
Yes.
Which is the closest thing they have to scrambled eggs.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same, is it?
Well, let's see if we agree on the next way of cooking eggs, which is poached. Poached. Now, I understand poached as being cooked in boiling water, quite violently boiling water, obviously without the shell, because if you boil an egg in water with the shell is the hard outside coating of the egg, then you're boiling the egg, you're not poaching the egg. So you must remove the shell, drop it into boiling water. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's the traditional way of poaching.
Carlos continues with his email and says the following. One more thing is when I went to pay for the service. I know that one way to ask for this is to say, check please, or can I have my check please? Is there a different way to ask for it? Says Carlos. Check is an American word, isn't it? What would we say in British English?
Yes, in Britain or Ireland, people wouldn't say check, they would say bill. So in America, they would say, can I, or if it's more than one, can we have the check please? Whereas in the UK, can we or can I have the bill, please?
One thing to notice, I think that is okay in the US to just say those two words, check please. Although that might sound a bit rude, a bit impolite in British English, we would prefix, we would have words before and say, could I have, or can I have, or may I have the bill, please?
Now, if there's one thing that really is going to get you into trouble when you eat in an American restaurant,
the prices.
No, not the prices. From what I understand, American restaurants don't necessarily have to be very expensive. There's a very wide variety from very cheap up to very expensive. Tipping, the tip. Here's where the trouble begins if you're not familiar with American culture.
To tip or not to tip? That is the question.
A question which normally just has one answer in America. Yeah, tip. You probably should tip.
15%, 20%?
Well, tell me, Craig, you've been in America quite recently. It's been a long time since I've been in the USA. What's the general kind of rate that people use to tip at these days?
I'd say 20%. I think it depends where you are, what kind of restaurant, diner, coffee shop, and which state as well, and if you're in the city or in the country. But with 15 or 20%, you're pretty safe, but definitely not less than 15%. And the sky's the limit. You can leave as big a tip as you can afford.
Yeah. So tip, in case we didn't say, is propina, that extra money you give because you want to. No, because you want to? Oh, because you have to. I've heard stories of the United States of it not being that clear 100% if it was totally voluntary, particularly from Spanish people. Because perhaps British people are more aware of the American system, but a lot of innocent Spanish people arrive in the United States, go to a not particularly good restaurant with not particularly good service, not particularly good food, and think, oh, I'm not going to leave a tip. But little did they know that it isn't really optional. You kind of have to leave a tip.
You won't get arrested, but you might not be treated very well if you go back to the same place. What would you say, Reza, if you wanted to pay for the bill or the check in the US? How can you offer to other people that you're going to pay for the meal or the coffee or the beer?
You could say, allow me, or it's on me, or maybe it's my treat,
My treat.
or I'll get this, or please let me get this. And if people don't want to, say, I insist.
One thing you should not say, which is a direct translation if you're a Spanish speaker from Spanish, te invito, you would not say I invite you, because you invite people to parties, you invite people to go out somewhere, but you wouldn't say that when you're offering to pay. So be careful of not making that direct translation. Use the expressions that Reza's just mentioned. If you'd like to learn more about tipping in restaurants, we did do an episode only on tipping. It was called To Tip or Not to Tip. So go to inglespodcast.com/232 to listen to more detailed explanations of how to tip in different countries. Okay, let's look at some more useful restaurant expressions that you can use when you're eating out or drinking out with your friends in an English-speaking situation.
Well, before you even get to the restaurant, it might be a good idea to book a table. Does that mean put a book on a table? No. It means to reserve a table. So to book can mean to reserve. People are often more familiar, foreigners are more familiar with the word booking than book. For some reason, people tend to know the word booking. Ah, yeah, a booking, a reservation. But when you say, I'd like to book a table, they go, the book? So a booking is the noun, yes, a reservation. And it comes from the verb to book. So you can book a table. You can reserve a table or make a reservation. So for example, I might say, can I make a reservation for 2 in the name of Reza, please? Or I'd like to reserve a table for 3 in the name of Coco.
Okay, so now you're in the restaurant, you've made your reservation and you're now sitting down at the table, but you want to see what's on the menu. The menu is a list of items that you can choose from to eat and drink. In Spanish, if you're a Spanish speaker, it's la carta. Usually these days, because we're recording this in the times of coronavirus, you would scan a QR code and look at the menu on your phone, but you might get a card or a paper menu or a plastic menu that you can look at. If the waiter does not give you the menu, you need to ask for it. How can you do that? Well, use the expression could I or can I plus the infinitive of the verb without to. So can I have the menu, please? Can I see the menu, please? Can I taste a piece of that chocolate cake? Can I pay for the bill, please? Can I sit near the window, please?
As Craig has already said, to ask for the menu would be la carta in Spanish. The word menu is a bit tricky to translate because if you say, could I see the menu, please? In Spanish, you want to see la carta. However, if you're interested in a set menu, you could translate that as menu. That would be menú especial or menú del día. That would be menu. So the choice is either a set menu, menú del día, or sometimes people say set meal, or we use a French expression, à la carte, which means de la carta in Spanish, not a set menu. That's your first choice you got to decide.
And some restaurants like to showcase, which means to exhibit or to demonstrate the talents of the chef and the people working in the kitchen. And you can get a nice selection of the food and dishes that's available in the restaurant. That's called a tasting menu or a taster menu, because you're tasting what the chef can cook. You're getting a good idea of the style of food the restaurant produces. If you're a Spanish speaker, that's menú de degustación.
Another type of menu, which I've never seen in Valencia, perhaps you have, Craig, I don't know.
No, I haven't.
Is early bird menu.
The early bird catches the worm.
That's right. The early bird catches. In other words, do things early and you'll be more successful.
But you won't be eating worms, will you?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. It's a thing which is certainly very popular in Belfast, and I imagine the rest of the UK. It's when you get reduced options, so not so much to choose from. And you might think, well, why would I do that? Because you save money. So there's less to choose from usually, but you get it at reduced prices. And the reason they call it the early bird menu is because it's only offered before the busy period. So in the UK, well, certainly Belfast, which is what I know, the early bird menu in a restaurant will be, let's say, from 5 o'clock to 7, 7:30 maybe. But from 7:30 onwards, that offer is no longer available because that's when the majority of people come. Then you're going to have to pay for the standard dinner menu, which might be the same food as the early bird menu, but you're going to have to pay more money for it. Is early bird menu popular from where you grew up in England?
Yeah, you do see it from time to time in the London area. I can remember walking past a restaurant or a cafe that said all-day breakfast. And I thought, I don't have time for that. I need to go to work today. I can't spend all day eating breakfast.
It'd be nice, though.
Another expression you could use that's very useful when you're speaking to the waiter is, what does it come with? What does it come with? What does the fish come with? What does the steak come with? What goes with the main thing you're ordering? For example, does it come with a salad? Does it come with chips? Or if you're in the US, does it come with fries, French fries? So you're asking the waiter what accompanies or goes with the food you're going to order.
Imagine you're thinking of ordering something, or you've already ordered it, but you're not quite sure what's in it. You might say, I'm sorry, I don't know what this is. Could you explain this to me, please? Or, what's in it, please?
Very often when I look at a menu in a restaurant, I get a bit confused. I don't know what to order, especially if it's a food that I'm not familiar with. It might be Thai food or Vietnamese food or Japanese food. So I would just say to the waiter, what do you recommend? Asking the waiter for their recommendation is very helpful if you're not sure what to order or if you really don't understand the menu very well.
And very often the recommendation of the waiter will be the chef's special or the house special. The house, think of de la casa in Spanish, right? So that will be a dish that they do particularly well or they're famous for, or people come there specifically to order the chef's special or the house special.
And very often you've got things on your table, but you need more of something, especially when it comes to alcohol. So again, we're using the words can or could to ask for things. So an example would be, excuse me, could we have some more wine, please? Or can I have another beer, please? Or could we have another bottle of red wine, please? You need to use rising and falling intonation because it sounds more polite. And you don't know the waiter personally, probably. So you want to sound very polite in the restaurant. Could I have some more wine, please? So make sure your voice goes up and down. Make it musical.
These days, of course, there are more and more alternative diets. So you might like to ask for something quite specific, which perhaps isn't obvious on the menu, or perhaps sometimes it says on the menu that you should ask. Sometimes it says, ask for vegetarian options, for example. In that case, you would say to the waiter, what vegetarian options do you have? Or what vegan options? Or what gluten-free options do you have?
And sometimes you want to be very specific and exact with your order. Could I have something but without the something? For example, could I have the chicken burger but without the fried onions, please? Or could I have the steak but without the sauce, please? Or could I have the salad but without the peppers, please? So you specify what you want and then you say what you want it without.
Unfortunately, mistakes can happen. There can be a misunderstanding, or maybe the waiter's busy and they get it wrong. And you might have to say, this isn't what I ordered. There's that word order again. You could also say, this isn't what I asked for. But it's far more common to use the word order. This isn't what I ordered. Or perhaps, I ordered the steak, not the fish. Or I ordered the vegetarian burger, not the hamburger.
That actually happened to you recently, quite close to here, didn't it?
It did.
But I don't think you used that expression. You just had the meal, but you haven't been back since.
Yeah, exactly.
That is quite English, I think, to not complain but just not go back. Of course, very often you're going to enjoy your meal and you want to say thank you and compliment the people who cooked it and served it to you. So you can pay a compliment. We use that collocation pay, P-A-Y, when you speak about compliments. You can pay a compliment by saying something like, that was really good. That was really tasty. That was great. Or that was delicious. Or if you want to be a little more formal and compliment the person who actually cooked it for you, you could say, my compliments to the chef. All these expressions you can find at inglespodcast.com in the show notes.
Now, Craig, we were talking about complimenting, saying nice things about the food, but we earlier were talking about complaining. Have you ever sent anything back because you just were not prepared to eat it?
I've never sent anything back because I wasn't prepared to eat it. I have, on occasionally, sent things back because I wanted it cooked more. Maybe it wasn't hot enough, but not because I didn't like it, or I'm usually fairly easy to please. So I usually eat what I'm given, and if I really didn't like it, I'd probably just leave some of it on the plate and not order it again.
Would you leave a tip if you didn't like the food?
That's a good question. If I thought it was my bad decision making, then I would leave a tip if the service and the atmosphere was friendly and good. So if I blamed myself for making a bad choice, that wouldn't stop me leaving a tip. If I thought the food was bad, it was badly cooked, it was badly served, and I had a really horrible experience, I would show that by not leaving a tip. What about you?
If I didn't like the food or the service, I wouldn't leave a tip.
Have you ever sent anything back?
Yes, but like you, I've never sent anything back and said, look, I just can't eat this. But I've sent something back to say, look, could you cook it a bit more like steak, or could you heat it up a bit if something's not as warm as I liked? I quite often would do that, and that's not such a bad thing, is it?
Can you think of any memorable meals you've had? Anything that stands out? Anything that sticks in your memory as being especially good?
Several, but not many of them have been in restaurants. They've nearly always been in your house.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I should,
Pad Thai, fish tacos, many things.
I should make sure I make the point that I'm not the cook. I'm not the chef. It's not me who cooks. So thank you to my wife who prepares the food.
What about you? Any memorable meal in a restaurant?
Many, many memorable meals, but I think one taste that I'll never forget was when I was in France and I bought some foie gras from a market, and I bought some French bread and I sat down in the street and had foie gras for the first time. and it was a taste I'd never experienced before. And I know it's a very controversial food to talk about, and I don't eat it hardly ever because it's also very high in cholesterol and it's not very good for you. And also there's the animal cruelty aspect to it as well. But the taste of it just stuck in my mind as being very, very memorable. And that experience of eating it just sitting down on the street, not in a restaurant, and having that wonderful taste experience is very memorable.
And what's the most unusual thing you've ever eaten?
I've eaten crocodile. That's quite unusual. And snake curry. Have you ever had a snake curry?
No, I've never eaten crocodile or snake. Where did you eat the snake?
The snake was in Thailand, in a restaurant in the north of Thailand, and it was in a very, very spicy soup, and I did not enjoy it. I didn't like it, but it may have been the way it was cooked. Yeah. The crocodile was wonderful on a barbecue, crocodile tail.
So I think, do they eat crocodile in Australia sometimes?
Yeah, they very often order crocodile sandwiches, and they always say, but make it snappy.
You better explain that.
When you explain the joke, it's never funny, but if something's snappy, it's quick. You don't wait. It's very quick. It's very immediate. Make it snappy. Do it quickly. But of course, snapping is also when the crocodile closes its mouth, it snaps. Also, when a person will say something to you that's a bit rude, say, stop talking, shut up, be quiet. You're snapping at someone. When the mouth closes quickly, it snaps. Crocodile sandwich and make it snappy. What's the most unusual thing you've ever eaten, Reza?
I suppose it wasn't that unusual if you think about it, but it surprised me at the time. I was in Portugal and they made a really nice, I was with a couple, and the man is an English friend of mine and his wife is Portuguese, and we were at their country home and everything seemed perfectly normal, so to speak. Normal, entre comillas, you would say in Spanish. Normal so far.
In inverted commas.
Inverted commas, yeah. So they said, okay, now just to add the finishing touch to this soupy kind of stew. Stew is estofado and soupy, like a soup. So, okay, what's that? Oh, the blood. What? And with 10 minutes to go, they put a load of blood, I think it was chicken blood, into this soup. I was like, oh, God, well, we're going to eat that now. Oh, yeah, in about 10 minutes, that blood will be cooked. We eat that. I wasn't expecting that.
Wow.
But it was actually really tasty. I did eat it, and within a couple of minutes, I'd forgotten that
there was blood in it.
It actually tastes really nice. Come to think of it, it shouldn't have shocked me that much because I love things like black pudding, morcilla, which is mostly blood. But I just wasn't expecting them to pour blood into the soup like 10 minutes before it was ready.
That is unusual.
Craig, do you mind paying a tip with your bank card? Not in cash, specifically with your bank card.
I've never really understood how that works, because if someone gives me the bill, if I ask for the bill in a restaurant and I pay by card, how would I give a tip by card? The way I solve the problem is I pay by card and I leave a cash tip.
Me too. But plenty of people do add a tip.
How does it work? Do you need to say, can you add 10% on the bill, or does
Or
it
a specific price, I've seen people say.
But does it necessarily go to the waiter, or does it go to the establishment, to the restaurant itself?
See, this is why I'm asking. This is where the doubt is. Yeah, who does it go to? I personally can't see how they could separate it if it's just one payment.
I'm sure it goes to the restaurant, which is not a problem if it's a small family-owned restaurant. But if you're particularly happy with the waiter and you want the waiter to get the tip, then it gets a bit complicated. So I prefer to leave cash when I'm tipping.
Me too. But the last time I was in Madrid, Spain, not long ago, several times I was out with a group of people and they added the tip to a card. This is in Spain.
Yeah,
I was quite surprised. Mm-hmm. In Valencia, I haven't seen it. But in Madrid, I have.
Interesting. Well, now it's your turn to practice your English. We would love to hear about your restaurant experiences. So what's the most memorable meal you've had, and where was it? What did you eat? Have you ever returned anything or sent something back to the kitchen? And what's the most unusual thing you've ever eaten? We would love to get your messages. So go to SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. And remember, you have a maximum of 90 seconds to leave your message on that service. If you want to speak for longer, just record your voice as an MP3 file and attach it to an email. Reza, how can people send their emails to us?
You could write to us. Write to craig@englishpodcast.com or me, belfastreza@gmail.com.
If you're interested in paying to improve your English, go to the Mansion Ingles online store, where you will find lots of courses that will help you to get better at English. The address for that is store.mansioningles.net.
As always, at the end of each episode, we like to thank all of you for helping us through the Patreon scheme. If you're interested, you might like to join the scheme and make a donation. It can be as little as $1.20 per month. The 20 cents is to cover the VAT tax. And as a thank you to those people who donate money, we give them instant access to recent audio transcriptions. If you want to find out more, go to patreon.com/Ingles podcast. You can see a link in the show notes.
We want to say thank you to everybody who's supporting us on Patreon. We do not know what we're talking about next week, but there will be an episode, as usual, next Sunday. So until then, thank you so much for listening to us today. Have a wonderful week. Until next time, it's goodbye from Reza.
And it's bye-bye from Craig.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.